Nice to be with you all. Okay, so I'm going to do a mix of talking to my slides and demo. Hopefully a lot of demo, not too many slides. Let me thank you again for inviting me. This was kind of fun. I do talks for the STUG group, usually the Saturday safaris. And this talk was one I gave there about a month ago. I think Bill Crow perhaps had seen it, and that led to my being invited to see you people today. So, all right, let me, because time is finite and this is a big topic. We'll do a quick intro on what this is about, talk about briefly just the TurboTax versions and then the H&R Block versions. These are the two main consumer-oriented tax software programs. I was interested to hear you talking. There is one called Free Tax USA that does a full job on federal returns, and they're free. They make their money by getting you to then buy their state returns. Mainly what we're going to do is I have a sample couple, retirees living here in Sun City, but not for real. And we'll do sort of a fairly fast run through step by step of doing their actual tax return. And along the way, we'll be touching on some of the stuff that's changed for 2025's taxes. I've got some links that you can look at. I sent Bill Crow up a copy of the slide deck. And we'll do a fairly quick, if there's time, a recap on what changed in 2025. So that's kind of it. Is there anything anybody's particularly wanting to hear about? Because I can run this in any direction pretty much that makes sense. No takers? All right. We'll ask your questions as we go.
Tom, nice. I had a question. This is Elva.
Hi, Elva.
Last year, the IRS had a free tax filing product, but I think Trump deleted that or got rid of it, right? That's no longer available?
If your income is under $84,000 a year, you can still file for free.
Free file, that was what was called.
I've got a slide on that a little later.
Okay.
Basically, you use the free version of either TurboTax or H&R Block. They'll direct you to the website. So when we get there, that'll come up. Okay, just a couple more disclaimer things. We're talking about tax software, not so much about taxes per se, though a lot of what we'll do is intrinsically going to talk about how the taxes work. I'm not a tax expert. I'm not certified. I'm not licensed. You can ask me questions and I'll do my best, but I don't want you to come sue me in 6 months if you get audited or something. Anyway, we are going to look at both TurboTax and H&R Block a bit, and then I'm going to use H&R Block for my demos. I've been using it at least 10 years now, and I moved away from TurboTax because my situation's pretty complicated, and I wind up every year having to buy the top of the line product. And H&R Block is about a third cost-wise. That adds up. As I mentioned, I'll use a model senior couple from Sun City, and we'll do their tax return. So the other thing, why tax software programs at all? You can take your shoebox full of stuff and go to a tax guy, pay him a chunk of money, and it gets done. Couple of things that maybe, are arguments for. They're not very expensive compared to paying a tax guy. especially if you are not a simple return. And we'll see what that means as we go. They're easy to use. Both programs have a step-by-step interview. You start at the beginning, you answer the questions. They prompt you for things. You get to the other end, and you've got a finished tax return. There is a forms mode if you were the old-fashioned, like to fill in all those little boxes yourself. Nice thing is you can import the prior year tax data, and that works crosswise. H&R Block can import from TurboTax and vice versa. The programs can go get a lot of financial data. The challenge there is the imported data has to be tagged a bit so that it knows what box on the tax return it would go in. So that can be a fair bit of work at times. You can import from Quicken, same thing. Thing I really like is as you're working, every time you change a number, it's a lot like a spreadsheet, everything recalculates. And I've had the experience, I got everything done about the middle of March, and then my tax broker sends me a corrected 1099. I have to change a few numbers. The adjusted gross income changes, and all the calculations that depend on that would have to be redone. Well, in these programs, zip, that's instantaneous. The other thing that's key is these programs know and follow the latest tax rules. If you're trying to figure out what the new rules are, you can spend hours, maybe days sometimes, trying to read through all that and track it down. There's a lot of error checking, both on the fly and at the end. And when you pay for these programs, built in is that you can electronically file. And that's done securely through an encrypted connection, goes between your PC and the IRS. If you're in a state that does state income tax, I'm in Nevada, none. You guys are in Florida, pretty much none as far as I know. And the last thing, for what it's worth, when you're working with one of these programs, it's completely private. So you don't necessarily have to share what you're doing with someone else. All right, so let's talk real quick. TurboTax, there's their website. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go there, but summarizing, there is a TurboTax free 1040A, 1040 easy type returns. It's online. Then they have a basic, which is either the last four are either online or you can get versions that run on your desktop. Runs on PCs and Macs. I don't think they have a Linux version, but you could go use the web versions if you're a Linux guy. So basic, deluxe, premier, and home and business. And that's the catch. For me, I do a little consulting on the side. And so I'm running a Schedule C business. And Schedule C, you have to have that top of the line product. As I said, most versions now, you can start on the web in free trial mode. And then at some point, if you want to file, pay them. So you can sort of what if your way toward most of it and then decide at the end. One caution that I came across, it was a bit of a surprise. TurboTax desktop versions only run on Windows 11. So if you're one of the hangers-on that's still running Windows 10, you can use the web versions of TurboTax, but not the desktop versions. As far as the program, this will seem identical when we look at H&R Block. They do an interview, personal information, income, expenses, credits, and adjustments and stuff. If you pay estimated tax, you do all that. They do have a forms mode. They've got a quick tax summary window that helps you see how you're doing. A lot of built-in help. They feature this deduction finder in the deluxe and above versions. At the end, you can print the return. If you want to mail it in, you can do that. You can print, I recommend print a return with the worksheets as your records copy. Because later when you're trying to figure out what you did, without those worksheets, it can be difficult sometimes. They do support electronic filing. And for the states that have state income tax, you can either buy a bundle or you can buy the state tax return separately. The e-filing for the states usually is extra cost. All right, and H&R Block, very similar. There's a free version, basic, deluxe, premium, and business. The difference here is the deluxe version on H&R Block handles stock transactions, rental income properties, a Schedule C business. So for most people, deluxe is going to do it. Depending on, H&R Block has a nice loyalty program. If you ever bought it before, they usually offer you at a pretty good discount from list. You can also find it on like Amazon and at Costco, places like that. But say nominally in the range of $50 for the deluxe version. Again, you can get them online or as downloads. They have web versions of all of this too. And a new thing from H&R Block is an online assist, which they claim is AI based. I haven't really tried it because I just did the interview and I had no trouble. H&R Block desktop versions do run on Windows 10 as well as Windows 11. And again, the same feature list. Two programs look a little different. Some people like one versus the other, but the flow is pretty much identical. All right, so, and I mentioned Free Tax USA. You might want to try that. They handle all the schedules and forms, federal online only. And then it's $15 for state versions. So that's gets us down to the main part of this. So here's my model couple, John and Mary Smith. This is the income side. They both work in a sense. John is actually, I was interested in listening to you talk about your club a bit. Sun City, we have fitness centers that are operated by the association, and they hire on residents to be the monitors. We have a desk where you check in, and it's a little bit above minimum wage job, but they're nice. You know, you can work about 8 hours a week, earn a little pocket change. So John works as a fitness monitor. Mary, she has a little eBay business where she sells homemade dolls, you know, cloth dolls that she sews up. And John worked a little bit of overtime this year. I did that on purpose, as we'll see, because that's one of the new tax provisions that was passed last July. They get Social Security income, some bank interest, little money from a treasury note that they own. Schwab's their broker, so they get some dividends. They did a couple of stock sales, so we'll do a Schedule D. They both are old enough that their IRAs have required minimum distributions, and they both are converting their IRAs gradually to Roths. So that's additional retirement income that's taxable. And they own a rental income property. Not uncommon here in Sun City for people to do that. We've got 7,800 homes in the community. Oops, there we are. Deductions, because Mary's running a Schedule C business, she gets the 20% qualified business income deduction. Charitable contributions that you make directly are not deductible for 2025. They will be in 2026. So I've got the line there, but the amount is zero. What they do instead is when they take money out of their IRA, the RMDs, they make qualified charitable donations that satisfy the RMD, but they're deductible above the line, as we call it. They still can take the standard deduction. So I mentioned that if some of you may be doing that or not, you have to be, I think, over 65, maybe over 72. They've got health insurance deductions, some healthcare expense, some property tax, the usual things, car license fees. It's going to turn out that when you add all that up, it doesn't come near the amount of the standard deduction that they can take married filing jointly. So the deductions are a moot point, except for these. All right, and the income property, the details here don't matter. They fill in a Schedule E. All these numbers go in there, and then we figure out what's their net rental income, and that's taxed. So again, I won't belabor that too much. So here's what we're going to do. I'll get going in just a second now. Import the prior year return. We'll run through a little bit of the interview, and then I'm going to switch over to a fully finished version so you don't have to watch me typing in all their numbers. We can run through some of the key points from that. All right, ready to go? Here's H&R Block. And something to note, as late as now, I just checked Monday and they had done an update to the software. That's a little disconcerting if you want to file early because they're still fine-tuning some of the forms and the math. A lot of this is the IRS itself, just as slow getting it. But I opted to wait. Nothing's changed in the last couple updates. I might as well wait till April 3rd is going to be Friday. File this coming weekend. Now what I've got, John, this is the one that's already ready. But let me start a new empty return. This is basically telling me what it's going to do. So I'm going to go next. Let's import your taxes, and I'm going to pick J&M Smith's 2024 tax return as the one to import. That quick, it's done. And now we can give it a name. Now, since I don't want to mess up the good one, I'm going to call this demo. And it's going to, if you don't know where these files go, it's good to pay attention. They put it in your documents folder under an H&R Block folder. You could go there and look around. Let's say save and continue. So now that tax return file is in the works. And we start, John did not serve in the military. Just skip on along. Married filing jointly is going to be their status. So here's what they know. You could edit any of this. I've made up Social Security numbers, and I've got the date of birth pegged, so they both are taking RMDs. address, the usual stuff you would put in. All right. They were both full-year residents. In my case, it's state of Nevada, but wherever you live. If you lived in multiple states, you might have state returns. Nevada does not have a state tax, so that's X'd out. So I'm going to skip. Basically, I'll check that. That just saves me time. Did I live in the US for over a half year? The answer is yes. They ask you a lot of these questions. Did any of these apply? You can sort of look at this and see some of this. You might be legally blind if you've got macular degeneration, something like that. All right. Keep going. I'm just about to the point. Let me slide this down. I think there's a no thanks button here, particularly for fake taxpayers. There's no point. No dependents. New and this is the children's tax advantage thing, where if you have a child between 2025 and 2028, you can get $1,000 from the U.S. Treasury in an eligible account for that kid. It's kind of like a managed IRA. Now, I'm going to say no. They're way beyond childbearing years. So now we finally get to where I wanted to be. They give you some dialogue here, but let's just get to, I don't want to upgrade. All right, John had wages from a job, so let's do his W-2. And then I'm going to switch over after that. So it knew about it last year, so I'm going to enter them myself. And it's for John. So let's say, go back here real quick to my numbers for John, so I'm not trying to remember. So 5629. I wanted to put in a correct number here. Let's say it was 563. Oop. One more time, 563. All right, he is not in the 401k plan. SS withheld $100. These again, you'd want to put the right numbers in, but just for the sake of typing this. And Medicare wages would be maybe 50. If he had other deductions and things like the 401k, you'd put them all in there. Okay. Was some of the wages overtime? Yes, they were. That's why we did this. Only so qualifying overtime pay. In John's case, it would have been 4 hours. Let's say $60. All right. He had no tips. If there were tip income, that would be another new thing. None of those apply. So we're basically there. So let me, at this point, I'm going to hit save. And let me hit exit for a second and bring this back up. All right, you see now the demo one is up here, but I'm not going to open that. Let's open the real one now. And this is the final picture, but what I want to do is go back to income. And let's just, it's nice that you can simply go to any one of these topics. So a lot of these that might not apply, you can basically skip. Let's look at his dividends for a second. Now see again, I've got it filled in. You can click edit and go back and look at these. In this case, I've already got it in. I don't have to type anything. One thing to know when you're doing dividends, some of them are actually interest. Let's say you own a bond ETF. Well, the dividends that they're sending you were really bond interest. So those are non-qualified, meaning they're taxed as ordinary income. Just something to know when you're doing your work on this. So let's look at Mary's business. Here's her doll shop. So you start with that. She did not have any of this stuff. It's a simple at-home, just her business. She used cash accounting. Did you materially participate? Yes. Tell us about the income. We booked the receipts. She sells these on eBay, as I said, about 50 bucks a doll. So she sold 70 dolls, about, less than two a week anyway. And so that's gross receipts. We don't have any of this kind of stuff. It's a simple business. She had $100 in returns and allowances. And then did she have inventory? Yeah. Did she use cost method? All right. 200 in starting. She bought $17.50 in materials and supplies. She had 150 left when she got to the end of the year. So the income looks like that. Total gross income after cost of goods sold was subtract $16.50. And then we go look at her expenses. Stayed away from the home office and using the vehicle. Reason is once you start doing that, you've got to depreciate that part of your home as because it's being used for the business. When you go to sell the home, that's a major mess in terms of bookkeeping. For the amount of income that's going on, it's just not worth it. So she paid commissions and fees to eBay, and she had a few other business expenses. $175 to eBay and $350 in shipping costs over and above the cost of the dolls. So total expenses were $525. We summarize all that up, and she had a net profit of $1,125. Okay. Rents and royalties. Here again, you can go into this, and I'm just going to step you through. This would generate the Schedule E. They didn't buy, they didn't sell. They just keep it as an ongoing rental. They did not use it personally. Days they owned it, the usual stuff. There was no miscellaneous income. Total monthly rent was there. That's based on, I don't know, I checked the math, about a little under $2 per square foot is what they get in rent. So the depreciation deduction came out to that. And that's kind of what that looked like. And they're paying a mortgage on that of $84.35. That's deductible as a business expense. And they have to pay homeowner association fees on the property. So that's kind of what that looks like. I'm going pretty fast here for you, but I wanted to get to, all right, that one's done. Let's go back here and let's look at give me a second. We sold some stock here. I wanted to show you that because that's more typical. let's see, wouldn't you know, I haven't been in here for a day or two. Here it is, sale of stocks, bonds. All right, because I mentioned they had 2 stock sales. So you get in here, you have to add the 1099. Who's it from? Totals of that. So you typically say, give it a narrative description and an account number. Barrel on by. So here were the actual sales. So we sold 500 of Pfizer at a loss, and we sold 200 of Unum. It's an insurance company. They do a lot of employee benefits work, so they've been doing real well. So that was a profit of $12.90. Let me look at that one for a second, just so you can see what one of these look like. So the description is typically just the number of shares and the symbol. These were acquired over several different dates, all more than a year. So you put in Bear-L. They sold it on the 14th of October. Proceeds were that. Their original cost was that. Was it a special type of sale? No. They had no federal income tax withheld because John files estimated taxes. So he just accounted for that sale in his estimated. No state tax to worry about. So his gain or loss is that amount. That'll be taxed as a long-term cap gain. All right, and the other one was similar, but there was a minus 1,000 loss on that. So that takes care of the 1099s. There was a long-term loss carryover from prior years, because I've been doing this for a while. All right, retirement income. This is where they took out the money for the RMDs. And there were 2 different accounts because Mary has her own IRA. And some of this money goes into qualified charitable donations. So let me show you that interview real quick. It's for John. Payer was Charles Schwab, John's IRA was the account. The amount, the taxable amount were the same. It was a normal distribution. You have a variety of possibilities here you could select from. No state income tax involved. And then they started asking, was the IRA box checked? Yes. Did he inherit it? No. Was he going to roll it over to another IRA? No. So it'll become taxable income. Were any withdrawals as treated as rollovers? No. Did you convert? Yes. Part of this became a contribution to his Roth. So then they want to know how much. It was a partial. 7,500 went to the Roth. Was not an HSA thing, but it was a qualified charitable donation. Mentioned this, part but not all. How much? 3,000 was a QCD. So what he's going to have to, Schwab will cut a check to the charity he's donating to, mail it to him. He mails it on to the charity with a cover letter or their donation form. This is now going to be deductible from his adjusted gross income. All right. Do you have any basis, meaning was some of the money in the IRA after-tax money? No. In this case, you want to keep those separate if you can. All right. Mary's would look pretty much the same. All right. And then they have, are you contributing to? Not any longer. You know, they don't work. So everything's going to be taxable. Fine. And we can skip Mary's. So I think we're about done with everything I wanted to show you on the income side. Let's go look at adjustments real quick. If you made contributions to an IRA, they're deductible. If you're paying student loan interest, that's deductible, and on and on. The tax laws run to 100,000 pages, and this is why, basically. They're very complicated. Let's hit next and say no, next. All right. All right, I wanted to get by. I guess I got back to here. All right, I've got nothing in adjustments, so let's go to deductions. Mortgage interest, they don't pay any on the home they're living in. Real estate tax, they do pay, so there's that amount. They've got, in Nevada, vehicle taxes are like a property tax, and so they're deductible. Charitable donations, not in 2025. State and local sales tax, you can put major purchases in if you made them, like a new car. For the rest of it, you can just have it figure out based on your local tax rate. And it's going to be about $1,100. Now, this deduction probably won't really apply because they're going to take the standard deduction. But what I'm looking for, no, not yet. There's a thing where as a senior, you get to deduct $6,000. We're going to take the standard deduction because that's $34,700 this year because they're over 65. They give you some advice about bunching. Additional deductions. Now here's the enhanced deduction for seniors. If you had tips, see the no tax on overtime, I'm going to check because that's one that would be allowed for John's overtime. It's not a big number, but take everything you can get. So the overtime deduction is going to be $180. All right. And the enhanced senior deduction, because there's two of them, they're going to get to deduct $12,000 over and above their standard deduction. Pretty cool. So here they kind of summarize that all up for you. And John had not allowed for this because the Big Beautiful Bill Act was passed in July of 2025. And the estimated tax amounts he was paying were based on the previous laws. So it kind of looks like this at this point. They're going to get a refund of $985 based on their deductions. All right, and let's get started. We still got to take care of the, if there were any credits, there aren't much. So I'm going to skip on ahead to taxes. And a lot of you probably are in the situation where you are making estimated taxes. And I think, yeah, let's go to federal tax payments, estimated tax payments for 2025. So because John's a pretty meticulous guy, he had worked out that he should prepay quarterly about $100 a quarter so that he'll cover their tax liability. Now, when the Big Beautiful Bill passed and the details came out, he figured out he didn't need to really make the fourth estimated tax payment because he had enough other deductions. He'd just be putting it in and getting it right back. So that's pretty much everything. Let's go take a look at Do you want to pay some of that against 2026? You might want to do that. If not, you typically set it up so that you'll get the money credited back in your bank account. Let's go over to finish. Let's look at the tax summary again just to see what we got. And that's how that's going to look. So you see your income, adjustments, deductions, your taxable income, how much you paid in, actual tax due. And this year, because he's paid more in, he's getting a refund essentially. $985. He's a happy guy this year. All right, we don't want to bother with the state. No, I hit the wrong button. I should have hit skip here. So this is the last thing it does, is it runs through, checks everything. They'll guarantee that you're getting the maximum refund you're eligible for. You can purchase audit support if you're worried. I wouldn't be. And so we get into the filing step. You can e-file, but what we want to do is print. So let me show you real quick. Print setup. I'm going to use the Microsoft PDF printer for this. And I don't have to do it, just say OK. And then I'm going to go to print. And you can choose, let's just print the official return so you can see what that looks like. And it checks off here what you're going to get. You could uncheck any of those if you wanted to. They have their own PDF software, but Microsoft's PDF printer is built into Windows. So it's going to throw this up, and I'm just going to say filing copy 2025. And it's going to print it in that Documents H&R Block folder by default. Not a bad place to have it. So it zips on through. That was it. All right. And here it's showing it to me, but I could also go over here. Here's the PDF, and I can just click and open that up and roll on through. So what you've got is a printable, you could print this again from the PDF. Nice to have a copy on your hard drive because then you can print off whenever you need one. But it's everything, the 1040 and all the schedules. And you can see John's runs on for quite a while. What have we got in total? 27 pages on this thing. So that's basically it. And as far as the slides, that's the tax prep. Let me mention you to pay the bills. The IRS, maybe you've heard of this, the Electronic Federal Tax Payment System. That's the URL for it. This lets you pay your tax bills online. You can enroll online. They need to mail you a PIN. They are also now using two-factor authentication. You can register with ID.me, and that handles the 2FA part of it. This is a secure way to pay. You link your checking account to your EFTPS account, and so it's funds transfers basically. And every time you make a payment through EFTPS, you get an email receipt. You can print out a history of your payments, and you can, while you're on the site, you can print out a receipt. What's nice is this is guaranteed proof that you paid, where when you mail the check in, If the post office loses that, you're still liable for penalties for non-payment. So that was one of the reasons this was pitched to me quite a while ago as a better way to do it. Plus, you can schedule the payments. So, if you're doing estimated taxes, you can set up all 4 estimated payments ahead of time, and they'll fire automatically on the dates you set up. So that can be pretty nice. Anyway, once again, in the interest of time, I'm not going to go there. But I've been using EFTPS to pay estimated tax payments, and when I owe, paying whatever I owe. And it's very convenient. All right, let's see. Here were the big, beautiful Bill Act tax law changes. A couple of links in there. If you really want to dig into this, you can go there. But some key provisions. All of 2017 tax cut bill provisions were made permanent. They also made permanent the 100% bonus depreciation for business investments. They did phase out some of the energy tax credits. There were expanded estate tax exemptions. You and your spouse collectively can exclude $30 million from your joint estate before any of it's subject to estate tax. Had that law not passed in July 2025, we would have reverted back to the old caps, which were quite a bit lower. The thing we talked about, the $1,000 tax deferred accounts for minors, charitable deductions starting in 2026, that's 1,000 single filer, 2,000 married filing jointly. Those are charitable deductions that you can take even though you're taking the standard deduction. So that's kind of nice. And that's separate from any QCDs you might do. They eliminated taxes on tips up to 25,000. That's through 2028, and there's a phase out. If your modified AGI goes above 150 single, 300,000 married filing jointly. Likewise, the taxes on overtime are eliminated up to an amount of 12,500 with the same phase outs and the same expiration. They did restore state and local tax deductions back to the 40,000 amount. So doesn't do much for us here in Nevada because ours are low, but if you lived in a state like New York, where you're paying a lot of state and local income tax, or California, maybe some of you lived in California, their federal or their state tax is 13.3%. And that kicks in at a fairly low, like 70,000 of taxable income, you're up to that bracket. Anyway, that all sunsets again in 2030, and there are phase outs. So, and the last one, this was the no taxes on Social Security. And so they implemented that as a straight, if you're over 65, each of you gets a $6,000 deduction. And again, that's above the line, so you can still take the standard deduction. All right, and some reference links that you can go dig on. And for what it's worth, here's the tax rate schedules for 2025 and 26. And again, I'm not going to read those to you. Okay, so I'll take any questions if you have them. Kind of fast, but hopefully you got something out of this.
Any questions?
Yeah. This is my third time doing this. Maybe I'm getting really good at it. I don't know. But it's it's kind of esoteric stuff. But um, I've been very happy anyway. Either of the programs is great, and I just find compared to dealing with a tax preparer, I did that one year and they messed it up really bad, and I just decided never again. And
Elva has her hand up.
yeah, go ahead, Alba.
So thank you for the refresher. It was really interesting to remember some of the, items on a tax return that don't
Sure.
apply to me. But anyway, it's interesting. I was glad that I did not convert to a Roth IRA. Back when I retired in 2011, I just had a regular IRA and Roth had just come in. I don't remember when it came in, but hadn't been around long. But since I don't pay any income tax, I mean, I'm always shocked the last couple of years. I don't have much income and I get a refund. This year I got 300 and some dollars back 5 days after I filed with
Yeah, pretty
H&R
fast.
Block. It was really quick. And
Well, are you yet to the age of taking required minimum distributions?
absolutely, I have been for some
Okay.
years. Yeah, I'm 80,
Well,
so
I would never ask.
that's okay. I'm proud of it. There's no shame in
Yeah,
aging.
yeah. But
So
yeah, it all depends on,
I did have to use the premium version because I think the reason was because I just have a small oil and gas royalty payment,
okay, that
so
might do it. Yeah,
that kicked me up to the premium version of H&R Block, but it was still only $35 to buy it.
yeah, it's pretty affordable. Yeah, if you have any partnerships, publicly traded partnerships, they send you a K1. And sometimes the program can't handle those, the deluxe version at least.
Hmm.
But I've coped with that. You can always go into forms mode and fill in the forms for those if you need to.
Hmm.
Um, but still, for 35 bucks, yeah,
Right.
a lot of
And
tax
that includes
preparers,
free filing. I
right?
live in Texas, so there's no state income tax. So
Ah,
I didn't need to buy the state version.
right. Notice that Florida, Nevada, Texas. Everybody's tax-free states.
Yeah.
I retired from California though
Oh,
at one
my
point.
son lives out
That
there.
was one of the reasons is
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to give them all that retirement money back. Okay, well, good question. Good question. Any other comments or questions? Yeah, Drew, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a quick comment. I'm not sure if I recall if you had mentioned that you were going to send out your presentation. If you send it to webmaster at thestug.org, I'll put it up on the website tonight.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. Let me make a note on that just so my memory's pretty good, but I'm 80 and you never know. Webmaster at STUG.
The
The
Stug.
Stug, the Stug.
I'm sorry, spell it.
It is webmaster at THESTUG
The
dot
STUG.
org.
.org. Got it.
Dot org. Yep.
The STUG or the STUG. Okay, and I'll send that to you just in case. Bill had a copy, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know if he passed it on. But it never hurts to, duplicate these things. All right, so I will do that.
And Tom, if I own some US Treasury I-9 bonds and a certificate of deposit at my credit union, I don't get taxed on that until I sell. Is that right?
I think that's true for the I-9s, although there again, I don't own it. I haven't had any experience with it. So
Okay.
when in doubt, as
Look it
Bob
up, ask
Gostitute was
AI.
saying, ask your favorite AI. For me, that's Gemini usually.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anybody? Okay, well, gosh, that was
Well,
very informative, and I'm glad I didn't choose CPA as my career path. I just overwhelmed. They come up with more forms and things all the time. How many pages did you say, Tom, the tax laws were, federal tax?
uh,
Just roughly,
I've heard it quote 100,000 pages.
100,000 pages.
Tax
That'd,
code.
that'd make a wonderful fire in the fireplace, wouldn't it?
Well, humanly, that's impossible to grasp. Interesting, the AIs probably would make short work of that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if they found all kinds of contradictions
yeah.
going through that. But that's why these programs are so great.
And then they make you learn all the new tax laws every year.
That's true. That's why I don't want to be a tax preparer for real.
Hmm.
A friend of mine was doing that, and he had to go to school for like 6 weeks every year just to get certified to be a tax preparer. And I said, this is just more trouble than it's worth. So anyway, we're almost to the filing deadline. Make sure you get it done by April 15th, unless you filed for an extension. And by the way, these programs all do the extensions, and if you do need to amend, they'll handle the amendment as well.
Tom,
So-
I do have a question.
Sure, you.
Over the years, I was told, once I got to be old and retired and no income, except for Social Security and one other small thing, uh, I didn't earn enough. I didn't even have to report. Is that true?
Uh, in some cases, yes, if the income is low enough, but the qualification is certain types of income you have to report regardless. So, like if you're, I've got the whole gamut of dividends and things like that coming in.
Oh, no.
And if you sell stocks, and I don't own income property, but I've done that in the past, and those all sort of force you into that. What's interesting, watch out if you're invested a lot in tax exempt munis, which the income is not reportable on the tax return necessarily, but it does impact the Medicare premiums that you're charged. Now, I got hit with this a couple of it was really the event happened 2 years ago. My wife had passed, and it was the first year I was filing single filer, and I earned too much, and this IRMAA, I'm sorry, it's essentially a surcharge on your Medicare premiums, and it just about doubled my annual or my monthly Medicare premium. And got the notice about it. So, oh, holy smoke, I hadn't realized. So there are cases where even if your taxable income comes in low, your your modified adjusted gross income might be impacting your Medicare premiums. And they take that out of your Social Security. So there are just numerous ways that this stuff will bite you if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, one of the main reasons I made sure that I did report every year is to protect my identity, that no one else could take my
There's that too.
tax information, and so and some of the rebates that they gave a few years ago they based it on your tax returns. If you didn't have one, you didn't get it.
You didn't, yeah, that's all true. It's very important to at least open an account at irs.gov and get yourself established, because that's one of the fraud things is somebody will open an account using your name and claim your tax refund. And that goes on a lot, you know, if you're, and having the account already open is one way to kind of block that. Anyway,
Yeah,
Final
Drew?
question from Drew.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I put, just in case anybody knows anybody that needs it, I put into the chat the federal IRS extension form.
yeah. You can go get any of the forms at irs.gov if you need them. But yeah, it's handy to have that one in particular.
Okay, thank you all, and special thanks to Tom for your time and presentation and all the information. And you're right, it does occasionally come back to bite us.
All right. Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
for having me. It was a lot of fun. Good to see you all.
Thank you for your presentation. And is there anything from Huey, or can we say goodnight, Huey?
We'll say goodnight, Huey.